Happy Independence Day. A lot of people think that 1776 we were independent. No. British troops didn't leave these lands until 1782. It took a long time to get there, to achieve independence. Thomas Paine wrote, "These are the times that try men's souls." You are in a time right now that is trying your soul. The best way for you to become independent is going to take a lot of work, a lot of dedication, but you will get there. And you get there by removing the biggest yoke that is on your shoulders. And that's hanging on to anger, hanging on to thinking that things were done to you personally, hanging on to hatred. If you hang on to that, you don't have much room inside of you for good stuff to come back in. When PTSD hit, a little wall got built, and it protected you from further harm. In doing that, what it also did was it protected you from finding joys. There was no room for it to come in. The biggest key is forgiveness, learning how to forgive. A lot of people say it's impossible. You can't always forgive. Yes, you can. I'm going to tell you a really quick story that talks about the power of forgiveness. I've done it. So that when I had a veteran come to me, he was on his third suicide attempt. He was on the verge of that one. And he told me the story of what happened to him. He was in the turret in a convoy in Iraq. He was the last Humvee. And it was night. The Iraqi people were told that if you see a convoy, stay away from it because there were suicide car bombers. If they saw cars approaching convoys, they were blowing them away. They had no choice. And this night, there was a car, kept coming. He had no choice. He had to open fire. When they went to assess the damage, what they discovered was no bombs, no guns. He assumed that it was a mom, a dad, because there were 3 children in the back seat, and all of them had died. This haunted him. It destroyed his life. Every time he looked at his wife and his own children, he saw their faces. Long story short, once he finally opened up and told me what had happened, I asked him to take a step back and look at things that he might have missed. What he missed was what he tried to do to prevent it. What he missed was the thoughts that if he did not stop this car, that car could probably blow up and everyone he was with would die. He had a choice of saving their lives or aiming at the car. He forgot that he had thrown rocks, fired warning shots. He screamed, he cried, he prayed that that car would just stop, and it didn't. Eventually, he was able to forgive himself for what he had to do. And as we were talking, I asked him, when did you forgive the dad? He couldn't understand why he should forgive the dad. And I explained to him, there is no way possible on this earth that you are ever going to understand what caused that dad to do what he did that destroyed your life after that part. So you might as well forgive him. Take the power he has over your life away from him. Forgive him. He can't explain anything to you now. He worked on it, and eventually he was able to forgive the dad. And a couple of years later, I got a phone call from his mother telling me that the following day he was going to be giving his testimony at church and that he was getting married again. He turned his whole life around. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of understanding. It took a lot to get from that point of despair into the point of independence from that event. His PTSD was not cured, but he had allowed himself the room inside for good feelings again, for happiness again. He was no longer carrying that burden on his shoulders, thinking he was guilty. He no longer carried the burden on his shoulders, not knowing what caused the dad to do what he did. So you can remove that roadblock from your life, and you are well on the road to independence and removing the oppression the PTSD has placed on your life up to this point. The only power it has over you is the power you give it. Stop allowing it to have more than it deserves, because it does not deserve places in your soul. See you next time.